Hi, welcome to Bookie. Today we will unlock the book The Anatomy of Story, 22 Steps to Becoming a Master Storyteller. If you were asked which is the most popular US TV series in recent years, you are most likely to say Game of Thrones, a fascinating TV series which had attracted millions of fans around the globe during its 8 years run. There are at least 2 reasons why this TV series fascinates so many people. Reason number 1 is its unpredictability factor, meaning viewers are certain to experience a number of emotionally jarring, yet logical twists as the story unfolds. Take the example of the fate of Ned Stark, the Lord of Winterfell, who was introduced in the start of the series as a likely hero. By the time fans of the show began to assume he would be the protagonist, he was beheaded under the orders of King Joffrey. However, if we consider the circumstances leading to his death, we are likely to consider it to be rationally applicable. Reason number 2 is the show's astonishing display of characters' growth and development. Taking Sansa, one of the main characters, as a case study, she first appeared in the series as an innocent, fragile, happy, pretty little girl who had naive aspirations for the future, but after witnessing her father's execution and experiencing all the obstacles she faced, she grew to become cold, firm, and a masked assassin seeking revenge on those who have wronged her. Every time we watch these types of TV shows, we do wonder, how did they come up with such fascinating storylines? This book, The Anatomy of Story, 22 Steps to Becoming a Master Storyteller, tells us that writing a really touching story requires more than we think. To make a story fascinating, there are many ingenious plans and arrangements that must be employed. Fortunately, the author of this book also assures us that no matter how hard it seems, we can all write good stories, as long as we train and deliberately practice for the purpose of mastering the skills of writing. This book contains a collection of secrets in story writing. These secrets can help storytellers find accurate ways to create enticing stories. It also dissects the storytelling techniques portrayed in classical movies and novels in an easily digestible manner for the consumption of all story writing enthusiasts. The author of this book is John Truby, a famous story advisor in Hollywood who has worked with Disney, SONY, Fox, BBC and HBO. Also known as Hollywood Script Doctor, his screenwriting courses has attracted over 10,000 people around the world. Standalone films and movie franchises such as Star Wars, Shrek, Pirates of the Caribbean, Ratatouille, Sleepless in Seattle, among other famous film projects, are produced by his students. To understand how extraordinary stories in novels, films, and TV series are created, we need to divide this bookie into 3 parts. Part 1, How to set a premise. Part 2, How to build the hero in a story. Part 3, How to convey the theme of a story. We must begin by first explaining what is the premise. A premise is basically your story's essence in one sentence. It is a summary of the protagonist's experience and consequence in a single sentence. For example, the premise of The Godfather, the Oscar-winning movie in 1973, would sound like this: the youngest son of a mafia family takes revenge on the men who shot his father and becomes the new Godfather. Any complex story can be developed from a simple premise. Although a premise consists of only one sentence, it contains 3 connected elements. The first element is concerned with what kind of a person was the protagonist in the beginning of the story. The second element is concerned with what type of a person does the protagonist become by the end of the story. And the third element has to do with the events and conflicts that change the protagonist. For example, in the movie The Godfather, Michael Corleone, the protagonist was a well-off youngster who only cared about himself and nothing else. But after the death of his father and the assassination of his brother and new wife, he went on a crazy revenge spree which eventually turned him into a cruel new godfather. In this premise, we can find all the 3 elements we have mentioned earlier. If we understand the concept of what a premise is, we are ready to learn how to develop one. The question now is, how do we go about it? Truby has compiled a list of 10 usable steps for developing a premise, but we have mashed them into 4 steps for you. So let's see what these 4 steps are. Step 1 in setting a premise: to write an original premise.